hunting. Between the boundaries of light and darkness, beyond even the depth and height of our existence, we must understand that the universe around us is comprised of things seen and unseen. Sometimes in our perception, we have to change our perspective and look at things differently, and sometimes that has to be from a paranormal point of view. There are things known and there are things unknown, and in between are the doors of perception, and the doorways of perception are now open. This is Paranormal Point of View. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your humble host, Dennis Carroll, and this is episode 27 of A Paranormal Point of View. I want to welcome everybody out there in podcast land tonight. Good to have you with us, and we're going to have an interesting discussion. We're rounding out Vampire Week on the Hunting the Shadows Network here. Absolutely, and we're going to round it out tonight with some very interesting stuff. Okay, absolutely. I want to welcome all of you shadow hunters out there. And we're ready for the hunt tonight. Hello, Midwest, Shiro, Jojo, Ada, and the girl on her gong. Good to have you here, dear. And we're slowly gathering in the grotto here tonight. It's a wet night out there, and we had a thunderstorm come through earlier. It wasn't too bad, but it put down a lot of rain. Unfortunately, we already were very humid to begin with, but that's the way that goes. I got my hunting hat on tonight. We're definitely going to do some hunting. We're going to go look at, we're all going to be vampire hunters tonight, okay? We're going to definitely go looking for some vampires. Absolutely. I want to remind everybody that coming up in a couple of weeks, my next seminar, and let me flip my lid here. All right. All right. In a couple of weeks, we're going to be having another seminar, and this one's going to be on self-defense against the darkness, part 2. Okay, and you don't want to miss this because I'm going to be giving some very valuable tips on how to protect yourself. I'm going to do something. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag right now, but I'm going to be doing something that may not have been done before on a podcast. Okay, so you don't want to miss this special 2-hour seminar, Self-Defense Against the Darkness, part 2. Okay, and believe me, we really need this kind of stuff in this day and time. Absolutely. And also want to welcome our new members. Membership is opening up. It's open right now, as a matter of fact. And hello, Kathleen. Good to have you here. Hello, Kilroy. Damien, good to see you here. Jojo. And membership is open if you decide you want to become a official, real, honest to gosh shadow hunter. You can join. We're now monetized, and I also want to say I want to appreciate everyone that's been giving me stickers and stuff and all that. That really has helped. I want to let you know too that if you join the shadow hunters, you will definitely be getting some good swag here. Okay, you're gonna be getting some stuff. You're gonna be getting some privileges. You're gonna actually get. I'm gonna try to fix this up so that the members will be the very first ones that get the first episode of the Midnight Road excursions into the unknown. That's coming up very soon. Okay, so if you decide you want to join, and if you cannot find the join button, you email me at denniswcarroll@gmail.com. Email me and I will certainly send you the link if you want to join. Okay, I'm just leaving that open for you in case that's something you decide you want to do. Absolutely. And also, like I said, I really appreciate the stickers you've been giving me, the super stickers, and all that. Believe me, that will go a long way in keeping me financed here. I just got some. I had to just purchase some new equipment here, and we're getting some stuff together. Okay, and we're gonna hopefully make your podcast a whole lot better. This is not just my podcast. Okay, this is your podcast too. I want you to feel it. It definitely belongs to you. Let's see. Now we got Kyle Smith in the house. Hello, my brother. And Mary and Kathleen. I mentioned you, didn't I, Kathleen? And if I didn't, I did it then. Okay. Actually, yeah, we've got some stuff planned. I'm not gonna, like I say, I'm not gonna talk about too much about that tonight. But this has been Vampire Week. We started off with my good friend Gerald and I on the road less traveled. We talked about what possibly maybe one of the top vampires, and that is Count Saint Germain, the Comte Saint Germain. We talked about him in depth. We looked at his interesting bio, you might say, and it was a very interesting show. If you haven't seen that, then you need to go to my playlist or go to Gerald's playlist and look it up. Look up The Road Less Traveled, okay? And it was a very interesting show on Saint Germain. You might definitely want to check that out. And then Wednesday night, I had Red Pill Preacher on. We were talking about satanic and vampire cults. Had a little technical difficulty that night, but we found overcome that, thank goodness. Lost my picture for a while, but you could still hear me. So I was doing radio there for a while. So anyway, that was a very good show. And if you haven't seen it, you might want to check it out too. All of these shows are always available for you to listen to on the playlist on the Hunting the Shadows YouTube channel. Okay, so make sure you go over there and check some out that you haven't caught up on or whatever. You will be glad you did. Okay, hello, Ada G. Springdale, Arkansas. Springdale, Arkansas. Okay. Here. Yeah, it's a little flaky out there tonight. We've got some thunderstorms coming through and all that. So I hope we don't lose the signal or nothing there. Anyway, I want to appreciate all of your support. You know, it means a lot to me. Whether you support, without stickers or whatever you decide to do, that is eternally grateful for all that you do. And like I say, if you decide you want to join and have a membership and become an actual shadow hunter, you hit the join button if that's what you want to do, and you will be glad you did because you're going to get some good stuff. Okay, trust me, you got some good stuff coming your way, and I'm gonna try to really take care of those, definitely with some interesting swag and some different videos and stuff. So we're gonna get into that definitely. Jojo says to think Saint Germain is still seen in New Orleans. Yes, he is talked about occasionally, and he is supposedly spotted in New Orleans from time to time. New Orleans has lots of vampires, the girl in her home says. Absolutely. I call it the vampire capital of the world, actually. And that's really where they should have filmed The Lost Boys. Remember that movie, The Lost Boys? That's one of my favorite vampire movies, by the way, The Lost Boys. And that would have been a perfect place for that. But it is the vampire capital of the world, absolutely. If I were a vampire, I'd be living in New Orleans, okay? Absolutely. But anyway, you could get away with a lot there, I think, more so than you could anywhere else. Yep. And just like the Mecca of a vampire. Yep, it definitely is. JoJo says Lost Boys is one of my favorite movies. Yeah. You know, I don't know if you know this, there's a Peter Pan tie into that. You know, the reason why they were called the Lost Boys, they're sort of like the Lost, that was the name of the boys that were in Peter Pan's band. They were called the Lost Boys. They were little boys that got lost on the streets and were never seen again, but they ended up in Never Never Land. I'm going to have to do a show on nothing but Peter Pan one night. It's got some freaky, freaky connections. Peter Pan and Alice in Wonderland are two of the freakiest things from our childhood that we could possibly imagine. But that is the connection between the Lost Boys and all that. Supposedly, and here's an interesting thing to think about, supposedly there has been conjecture that children who disappear end up either as the victims of vampires or sacrifices, and we're going to talk a little bit tonight about the blood connection here, okay? But it is an interesting conjecture they not only end up as vampires, but as food for vampires or food for the satanic cults. That's a bad thing to think about, but that is the way that ball bounces. Absolutely. I saw it in the theater, and girl in her phone says, yeah, I did too. I saw it originally when it first came out in the theater. I saw The Exorcist the first time it originally came out. I saw it in the theater. So it's a different, altogether different thing, really, to me. In a dark movie house, you can let your imagination connect that with what you're seeing on that screen, definitely. And it's neater that way, unless you got some people talking around you and using their phones. The last time that I went to a movie theater, and it's been quite a while, that was back before a certain epidemic hit. People were very obnoxious. They would be talking to the screen, they would be talking to themselves, throwing food at each other, playing with their phones, doing all kinds of stuff. They had no respect whatsoever from anybody else in the audience. So that really kills the experience for you. And it's getting that way everywhere. Football games are getting like that. Concerts, you name it. People have no respect anymore for other people trying to enjoy something. Absolutely. You really get rid of the Grandpa and Lost Boys movie, didn't that would probably be neat. I could be like, oh man, this is my stuff in the refrigerator here. You don't touch it, okay? But I would probably be after the women like him too, probably. Yeah, definitely. Grandpa was a trip. Yep. Yeah, you going to the movies. Yeah, but it's just, people getting so disrespectful now. Now I was telling my friend Gerald earlier today. I watched a good movie over the other day that I would highly recommend if you like monster movies. Okay, and I'm a monster hunter from way back. Monstrum Venator. Okay, that's me. I'm a monster hunter, and I love monster hunting movies. And this was one heck of a monster. Okay, folks. The name of the movie is called Thirst, just like you'd be thirsty for something. Thirst. And this was quite a monster from outer space. And the way they had to deal with this thing was great. Great movie. You need to check it out and watch it. It's really good. And it had a good amount of action in it. That's what I like. It had some good action, but it had a good little storyline and some good actors in it. It was very well done. Thirst. Check it out. It's free. It's on Prime Video. Okay, it's on Prime. And interview with a vampire. Yeah, I was never really big on that. I liked the book better in a way than I did the movie. Okay, the movie was okay. Brad Pitt was good. Tom Cruise was good. They were all pretty good in it. But it here's the thing about Anne Rice's stories. Okay, she kind of goes deep into the decadence of these vampires, the awful, terrible existence that they lead, and it's kind of depressing, you know. But that's the way she wrote, you know. And I've got nothing against Anne Rice; she was a great writer. But I'm just saying, a lot of her stuff had a sort of decadent, decaying kind of depression about it, you know. And that would be the one thing about being a vampire. Okay, you cannot die. I mean, unless somebody offs you, by the way. You're doomed, so to speak, to that lifestyle. You are a slave to blood. We're going to talk about the blood tonight. What is this blood connection? You know, and we hit on a little bit Wednesday night. But I want to know what you guys think about this blood connection. There's something going on with the blood. There is a definite spiritual connection with blood. This blood stuff runs through every bit of this stuff. Not just the vampires, but the satanic and the witchcraft, the dark witchcraft. I've probably got a lot of the so-called good witches mad at me because I'm not talking about you gals, okay? I'm not talking about the ones that like to dance in the moonlight and all that stuff. That's their gig. I'm talking about the evil dark witches, okay? And they do exist. Believe me, folks, they do exist. Well, they have that connection of the blood connection thing going on too. What is it about the blood connection? You know, it's very prevalent in the vampires, the reptilians, and all that. And by the way, folks, let me break the news to you. Reptilians equal the fallen, and the fallen are the reptilians, okay? They're one and the same. The fallen angels, really, that's what they really look like, reptiles. They're snaky looking guys, okay? And that's what they really look like. And we got to remember that demons equal aliens, aliens equal demons. That's the way that ball rolls, okay? That is what you've got to deal with. And I've been doing a lot of research, and I'm not going to get into that tonight. That's going to be a show for another time. But there is a definite, absolute definite dark spiritual connection to a lot of this UFO, UAP stuff going on, okay? And we're going to be talking about that in the future, but I'm not getting into that now. We're talking about the blood tonight. The blood is the life, and the life is the blood. Let me repeat that again. The blood is the life, and the life is the blood. Okay? And I want to tell you this. Fear shows up in the blood. Great emotions and trauma show up in the blood. There is a spiritual blood connection going on here. You know, I was thinking about in the book of Genesis with Cain and Abel, when Cain rose up and killed his brother Abel, and God knew about it. God said, "What have you done? Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground." There is and God, when he wanted a sacrifice, you had to take the most perfect, unblemished lamb and offer it as what? A blood sacrifice to God to have your sins atoned. That was back in the old days now. I'm talking about the Old Testament days. The blood. This keeps showing up time after time after time. There is a distinct connection with the blood. And there is a very strong connection to the blood and vampires. Okay, of course. But we're not going to talk about just the blood drinking vampires tonight, because there are other vampires out there as well. Okay, other types of vampires. And I had a case just a few days ago, where this nice lady called me about some problems. And I'm going to tell you, this is the weird thing about it. This is very much like, now, you know, I have talked to you and told you before about my different encounters, vampire encounters, and I'm not going to go over them again tonight because I don't want to bore you. But um, it was scary. Angela Bassett nailed it. Huh? Oh, yeah. Um, Stevie Nicks appeared. Yeah. Stevie Nicks. Ooh, she's hot. Yeah. She's still nice. So anyway, next time I have a birthday party, I want Stevie Nicks to show up with her owl, okay, or something. But anyway, that's not going to happen. Anyway, the interesting thing about my encounters with vampires, they have been sort of, I say, sort of mirror-like. Sometimes they're sort of like the same ones over again. But here's the interesting thing. You might remember me telling you about the voodoo case I had where the Mama Loa put a vampire spirit on this woman. You remember I told you about that? Well, I had a case the other day. It's just very much like that. But instead of the woman, it was the husband this time. And it was definitely some voodoo activity. Some people moved into this neighborhood. And when they did, evidently their next door neighbors, they tried to be nice to them. When they first moved in, she brought food over there to them. She tried to be nice to them. She got very badly rebuffed by that. They didn't want anything to do with her. And that's when weird stuff began to happen. And I believe without a doubt, and you can have this happen in your neighborhood. It can happen to anybody. You can have some weird neighbors move in. It may not be everything they appear to be. And these neighbors may be doing some very bad juju here, okay? And let me tell you what happens. A lot of times, folks, when something like this goes on, when they're dealing with dark forces, it can spill over into your house. It can spill over onto your property if it's next door or even in the neighborhood. It's kind of like a spiritual bomb going off. It affects everything. It's a ripple thing going on here. And I think that's what happened here in this case that I worked the other day. I told this lady what needs to be done and what she could do to protect herself, the certain things she needed to do to protect herself. She had some dogs. She was worried about them too. Of course, our dogs are like our children to us, you know. She was worried about that. I hope I helped her. I gave her some pointers and things to do and the way to kind of put a spiritual barrier up between her and her neighbors. These new neighbors that moved in, but I believe it had something to do. She said they were from Haiti. Okay, that was my first clue, and I think this definitely has some kind of voodoo connection. But this woman's husband had a vampire. I think a vampire spirit has been put on him. Now these vampire spirits who can be put on you with curses, hexes, spells, whatever name you want to call it, by voodoo or dark magic and witchcraft, whichever name you want to give it. These vampire spirits can suck the very life out of you. Okay, they don't take your blood, they take the life essence of your soul. Okay, that's the way that goes. And you've got to be careful with people you deal with. Okay, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a lady that's been on YouTube, and you can see I saved her video. I saved it to my playlist, and she is actually in New Orleans. Okay, she lives in New Orleans, and she is a Uber driver down there. And she calls herself, that's not her name, but she calls herself Fat Girl. Okay, that's her name. I didn't give her that. That's what she calls herself. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, she said her name was Kimberly. Okay. So anyway, she said she had a very strange incident happen the other night. She picked this lady up. She said, I got bad vibes from this lady. Said she got in the back and we were driving down the road going to the destination wherever she wanted to go. And said this lady was nice though. She kind of talked to her and said, you know, and she said, but that night she said, I got the weirdest feeling. I've never had this feeling before. She said, I can't even hardly remember driving to the destination that I was supposed to get to, but I got there. And she said, but this lady was talking to her. She said, I can't even remember some of the things that this lady said to me, you know. But the lady told her, she said, oh, by the way, I'm a vampire. And and then she told fat girl, Kimberly, whatever her name is, she told her, she said, but I don't drink blood. I take energy out of people. She said, matter of fact, you have some great energy. And she touched this lady. She touched fat girl on the shoulder, on the neck, like, and touched her. And said all of a sudden she felt a jolt going through her. You need to watch this video. It's on my playlist, okay? She said she felt something very strange and felt weak kind of from it. And the woman said, I just took a little bit of your energy. And thank you so much. Or something. Well, anyway, she said, and here's the weird thing. She said that after this incident, she was very weak for a long time. After that incident, she said, I went home. Said, I don't even remember getting home. Said, I got home, said, I just didn't feel right for several days. And then all of a sudden, the last report from this woman, fat girl, she calls herself, is that this vampire lady has shown up in her dreams. She's being haunted by this, okay? And I wish that I could talk with her and do what needs to be done. I could probably help her with releasing this from her. But unfortunately, I'm going to try to get in contact with her and tell her some things she needs to do. But I think she has done some right things. She's kind of a religious lady, and she has done some of the right things she needs to do. But this is another thing we need to talk about, folks. Don't let the wrong person touch you. It's not even good to shake hands with some people. I'm not talking about everybody now. I'm not using this as a broad general term. But if you don't feel right about somebody, it's a good idea not to shake their hand, or at least not let them touch you or you touch them. Just like we talked about haunted and cursed objects, the same thing goes with people that touch you. I don't like anybody getting in my personal space unless I want them to, And I especially would not want anybody to touch me like that, because it leaves some kind of a psychic mark on you. It leaves that impression on you, and it's not good. And it's also these energy vampires can drain you and keep draining you. She said this woman has appeared in her dreams, and she has gotten weak after her dreams. So there's some kind of a psychic kind of a connection going on here, with that. Hello, Philip. Glad to have you there. Okay, out for some Hispanic cuisine. Huh? All right, cuisine. And if you take a marker to her forehead, you'll know for sure she's been marked. Yeah. Well, she didn't touch her forehead. She just touched her on the neck, like very lightly. But it was enough for her to drain energy out of her. But it's not a good idea to let these people touch you, okay? It's not even a good idea to have a conversation with them if you can help it. Okay, trust me, you're asking for some bad trouble. And that's the way these energy vampires work. And you can call them energy vampires, but I call them life-sucking, soul-sucking vampires, because that's what they're doing. And if they ever latch onto you and stay with you, constantly feeding off of you, finally, they'll use you up like an old banana peel and throw you away. That's it. That's the way these guys work. And they're just as dangerous, if not more so, than the vampires that drink blood. Absolutely. Sharon Lane says the vampire's protecting on her. Yeah, that's what's happening. She's formed a connection, and that's why I've told you so many times, time after time, it's not any good idea to form a rapport or connection with these kind of beings. You're only opening yourself up to some bad stuff. But like I said, if you want to see her whole thing, it is on my playlist. And it says Fat Girl, okay? And she is a very large lady. She drives a Uber in New Orleans. I think she does some other stuff too. She got her own channel, as a matter of fact, too. and she has talked about some other paranormal experiences that she's had. But this was bad. This gave me a bad, very bad feeling, and I really feel bad for her. I would love to be able to help her if she needs help. And if this keeps continuing, she definitely needs. Is going to have some kind of release. When you are touched by dark forces, you need that release, and you need to rejuvenate yourself. You need to cleanse yourself spiritually. Okay, immediately you need to do that. If you run into these kind of things, some vampires sap your energy, Freaky. He says, absolutely. That's what we're talking about tonight. This is a definite energy vampire thing going on here. But like I say, it wouldn't be so bad if it was just your energy, but it's the very essence of your soul to a certain extent. And if these things begin to haunt you, vampire hauntings have been known to happen. Okay, if vampires begin to haunt you, they will never leave you alone until they finish you off, usually. Okay, or make you one of them. That's the bad part about it too. Don't walk into every shop in New Orleans either. Oh no, you got to be very, very careful with New Orleans. Anywhere actually, but New Orleans would definitely be where my shields would be on high alert. Okay, absolutely. But wherever that may be, it can be anywhere. I've been in some really creepy bookshops in my time, some other places that didn't feel right when I was there. If it don't feel right, go with the flow and get out. You know, if it don't feel right, pay attention to that. Um, yeah, I bet she sees a lot in New Orleans, girl or gone. Absolutely. I wouldn't doubt that one bit. But that's in a vampire encounter. And I've got another one. I got a couple more I want to talk about tonight. But anyway, that's one vampire encounter with the energy vampire. And now this case that I worked on just the other day had a lot of ramifications to that. I believe this man has had a vampire spirit put on him. Voodoo Mama Loas and Papa Loas are very good at using these vampire spirits against people they don't like. You might remember that very interesting case I had with the vampire spirits and the voodoo. I never found the fetish, so that's what I told this woman on this last case just the other day. I said, you need to search, and guess what she found on her property when all this started? She found a dead dove with its eyes cut out on her front doorstep. That's not good. That is not good, okay? And to me, that was a definite fetish. And I told her, I said, be watching for other stuff like that, okay? If they put other items like that, or they may even try to poison your dogs, these people are evil, okay? They're not gonna be nice about anything, okay? And I said my advice to her, and I hate to say it, but I said the best thing you can do is to avoid these people. Don't have any more interaction with them. Don't form any kind of a communication with them. Just leave them alone. And she said she planned on doing that in the future. Definitely, she wasn't gonna mess with them anymore. But you got to put the shields up when you run into these kind of people. Okay, you got to get ready to understand that you got to get ready to become a bumper on it. Okay. I like to find the lead go with the flow and run for the hills. I hear you. All right, Sherry Lane. I know lots of people from New Orleans very haunted. Oh yeah, and I'll tell you another city that's very haunted that I have had a lot to deal with. It has some vampire activity in it as well. Is Charleston, South Carolina, and Savannah, Georgia. Those are two very haunted cities, by the way, very haunted. Whenever you're in any situation like that, around that kind of bad energy, okay, that negative energy, be very careful and watch out, okay. But I've got another story to relate about a guy that actually I'll tell you about this. This story is called Sunglasses and Leather Gloves. Okay, sunglasses and leather gloves. And this guy, he was sort of like a Uber, and he was in, I think, New York. This is where this happened. But he had a sort of a escort limousine service, okay? And he was hired to pick this lady up at an airport. And he said, what was so strange about it? He'd done this hundreds of times, 1,000 times. This was interesting because he picked this lady up at midnight at an airport. It was not a main like LaGuardia. It was not a big airport. It was sort of like a smaller airfield. And he picked this lady up, and she arrived in a private jet. And he said that when she got in the car, she had on these long gloves, how women used to wear, such long gloves, like they were black leather gloves. And she had on dark sunglasses. And then we're talking about the middle of the night now. We're talking midnight here, okay? And he said he got a freaky feeling when this lady got in the car with him. And she wouldn't talk very much. She would just tell him where she needed. She had a briefcase with her, and she told him where she needed to go. And so we went to the first destination, and this happened all night long. It was one place to the next, and she would take this briefcase and walk into these different places that she went to, these different buildings, and she would only be like 5 or 10 minutes and come back. Said all night long this went on till like maybe 4 o'clock in the morning. And she still had the sunglasses on, still had the leather gloves on, but sometime after this last round, she took the gloves off and left them on, put them on the seat, and she took the sunglasses off. And he said, honest to gosh, I was looking in the rearview mirror when she took the sunglasses off. Said, just for a flash of a minute, her eyes were red. She had like red eyes. And that kind of jolted him. He said, what, is going on here? What is this? And he got this bad feeling from this woman all night long. And so she said, I want to thank you for taking me to my destination. Just the way she talked now. And said, you have served me very well. That's what she said. You have served me very well. And she said, and should I return to the city again, I will seek out your services. And she touched him on the shoulder. And when she did, said he said it was, it's kind of a joke like, but she was not an energy vampire in that respect, okay? But he said that he just felt a very bad vibration from this woman, okay? And he took her back to the airport. She got out with the briefcase and walked in and left. And he looked on the back seat, and there was that pair of leather gloves and the sunglasses laying there. Okay. And he said, the next thing I remember, this is what he said now. Next thing I remember, I woke up in my bed at home, like after my shift. I woke up and it was like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. And he said, I woke up and I said to myself, was this some kind of dream? Was this something that I imagined, I can't believe I can only remember coming home. I don't remember what happened after she touched me like that. And so he said he went out to his car. He drove the limo home, He said, went out there, and sure enough, the leather gloves were there on the back seat with the sunglasses and 5 $100 bills. And he said that even great money. He said, even though the money was good, I hope I never pick her up again. And I never heard any more about that, but that's the story of leather gloves and sunglasses. She was a vampire, folks. Absolutely. If she wasn't a vampire, she'll do the real thing comes along. So what do you think about that? Uber drivers are vulnerable. Yes, they are, Sherry Lane. I don't think I would want that to be my job. I have a friend who used to be an Uber driver. Hello, Cryptid Huntress. Good to have you here, dear. We're talking about vampire hunters, vampire encounters tonight. Yes, he had missing time, and he just had that fog, that brain fog thing going on. And he said, well, I woke up. He said, I was it real, you know? And he said, I walked down to the car, and sure enough, the leather gloves and sunglasses were laying there on the back seat and five $100 bills. Freaky stuff. But he said when she took those glasses off, he saw her in the rearview mirror. He said there was a flash. It wasn't, very, very quick. Did I see that kind of a thing? You see something out of the corner of the eye, like you're not looking directly at something. You have to wonder sometimes if you really saw it. He said, but I saw a flash of two red eyes, you know. And he said that, I said, I remember that well. And he said, although I lost a lot of memory of that night, he did, and he lost a lot of memory of what happened. Some stuff he could still remember. That's freaky. And that's what these kind of spiritual beings can do to you. Okay. But I had somebody ask me the other day, Dennis, what would you do if you ran into a real, honest to gosh, undead vampire? What would you do? Would you stake him? No, probably not. I would take care of him with this. This is the number one remedy for vampires. Okay? Kukuri knife, by the way. Very, very great weapon. This will take the head off very quickly. And that's what you want to do. You want to decapitate a true vampire. And after you decapitate him, then you can drive a stake in him just to make sure he doesn't come back. But I do not go out in the forest. I do not go anywhere without my Kukuri knife. This is a great weapon, folks. If you don't have one, I suggest you might want to think about purchasing one because they come in very, very handy. Absolutely. Especially if you were to run into zombies and vampires. They take care of the undead very quickly. But that is the number one remedy for anything that is undead. You must decapitate it first. And then do what you need to do. Stake it, burn it, scatter the ashes. That's the only way to get rid of this true evil that we may encounter. Oh, let's see what we got here. Hey, Any Venom, how are you doing? And why do you think the eyes are red? And do you associate all red eyes with evil? Yes, I do. Because that's usually a telltale sign. Take a look at my blue peepers, my blue eyes here, okay? Those are the windows of the soul. The eyes are the windows of the soul. And if there's intense evil, whether they be black eyes or red eyes or even white eyes, green eyes, the color don't get hung up on that. What you feel from it is the main thing. But if it's got red eyes, most of the time, I'm not going to say every time, but most of the time what you're dealing with is downright demonic in nature, without a doubt. Whether that be dog man, Sasquatch, Chupacabra, whatever the situation is, whatever kind of cryptid you're running into, or whether it be a werewolf, a vampire, whatever the situation, if you tell me, Dennis, it had red eyes, I'm going to immediately know, without a doubt, probably what you're dealing with was demonic. Okay? That's just the way these things go. Now, black eyes can also be very demonic. I've seen people's eyes go black. Definitely that happens. Okay. And the whites, usually when the eyes are white, the eyeballs have rolled back into the head. That's what you're usually seeing when the eyes turn white like that. That's usually under great pain or trauma of some sort is usually causing that. But that's the way that goes. Do you think they are red so we can't see their souls? Well, what you're seeing, I think, is the manifestation. What you're seeing when we say it's the windows of the soul, the darkness, if there's great intense darkness inside, or something that is demonic in that respect, it's either going to show up black or red kind of thing going on. It's going to show up what's inside. It's going to show up on the outside. And that's why a lot of times we have talked about this before, these reptilian situations that happen. People actually see this transformation, or they catch something about the reptilian eyes, or or whatever the situation is, yes, you are looking probably most of the time at the true form of that person. There is a real freaky superstition that says, especially if you're dealing with a vampire, um, or vampire-like being, but they said that you can take a mirror and at midnight you hold it down very close to a person's face while they're asleep. You will see what their true form is, whether they're demonic or what. Now, I'm going to say this about the vampire mirrors, okay? There's been a lot of discussion on that. I think that it may be the number one reason why that vampires cannot be seen in mirrors, or that you are dealing with a spiritual kind of thing going on. Now, matter of fact, I sent my good friend and colleague, the Cryptid Huntress, a reel today showing a very strange formation found in a forest, and it had sort of a spiral drawn on the ground, a big spiral, and it had four mirrors inside this circle facing each one of each other, and one mirror was black. That is not good, my friends, okay? That is not only probably some type of a dark magic thing going on here, but they're also trying to open some type of a portal or call up some kind of a spirit being. Spirit beings, especially demons, let me tell you this. Demons hate mirrors, okay? Vampires don't like mirrors, because it not only shows that they're inconsequential, they're not solid beings. Now we're talking about truly undead demonic vampires. Do not show up in the mirror for two very good reasons. One, they're a spirit. They don't even supposedly have shadows like you and I do. They don't cast a shadow. Okay, if you see somebody and if you're standing in a group, let's say in a line with two or three people, and the sun is shining, or there's some kind of light being cast down, and you look down and everybody but one person's got a shadow, you might better look twice at that person, or maybe three times, because that may not be a person that's standing there. Okay, if it doesn't cast a shadow or reflection, you're not dealing with a human being. And another reason why the vampires may not cast a reflection in a mirror is that once upon a time mirrors had a silver backing to them, and we do know silver is supposedly a very pure metal, and it would definitely not hold a reflection of a vampire. So that's interesting, very interesting. The eyes are the window from the physical body to the soul body. Yeah, that shows what's inside. It's going to show up on the outside sooner or later, whether it's through the eyes or the mouth or the actions of that person. They're always going to show up sooner or later. And that's what I said to my friend Red Pill the other night on Wednesday night. We were talking. That's the one good thing about evil. What did you say, Dennis? There's one good thing about evil. Okay? It always gives itself away eventually. That's the good thing about it. It always overplays its hand. It always does that. That's just the way it works. It's self-destructive, okay? And so you can always depend on evil to act like it's, no matter how much it may try to fool you, you can always depend on evil to give itself away sooner or later. Okay? That's just the way that goes. And I think the vampires are that way too. They have to be very careful how they deal with things and very careful how they approach things. There is, and I'm not going to get into that tonight. I've talked about this before. There are so many different types of vampires. Okay. But what that fat girl ran into, and that's what she called. I don't like to call anybody a fat girl, but that's what she calls herself. Okay, I think her name was Kimberly. If you go watch her reel that I've got on my playlist, she was very disturbed by this. She was very spiritually attacked. In other words, this is a spiritual attack. The vampires launch a spiritual attack on you because they are mostly, even with a human body, spiritual beings. Sometimes they are demonically possessed people that do these things. So that's what you got to understand about vampires. Being that ugly, I'd hate to see myself too, Damien. Well, that's another reason why. Let me tell you why demons hate mirrors so much, because they can see what they truly look like in that mirror. They don't want to see that because they see the filth and corruption and evil and all this horrible stuff that they have become. They can see that and they don't want to see that because that's the truth, their true image, and they don't want to see their true image. So that's why the demonic hates mirrors, and so do vampires. Werewolves are supposed to not like it either. They don't want to see the beast that they are. They want to deny the truth of what they are because they are caught up in a proverbial lie, a very untruthful thing, a very evil, bad thing. They don't want to see that. And I can kind of go along with understanding that, because if you get that bad, that corrupt, that far gone, you wouldn't want to see it either. You know, you wouldn't want to see the image of it either. But that's the way that goes. I'm praying for more discernment about dealing with entities like this, Sharon. Absolutely. If we are more sensitive to the vibrations of these things that they're putting out, and I'm talking about dark, negative vibrations here, okay? If we become more sensitive to that, like I say, it'll be like a red light going off. Boom. We'll know something's not right, okay? And then you can be very, very, very cautious how you deal with that situation. Okay. Now that's like the vampire girl that I met out in the cemetery. I felt before she ever shook my hand, when she walked up, I felt a unnatural coldness about her. There was a weird vibration going on there. You know what I'm saying? I picked up on it immediately. And here's what my own thought, and I remember that day well. It's etched in my mind forever. My first thought was, hey, there's something not right about this lady. There's something that's not, it's off, something spiritually off about this. I mean, I felt that immediately. I should not really have shook her hand. I would not advise you do that. That was a bad thing on me. I should not have took her, but you kind of feel bad. Somebody offers you a hand, you're not to shake their hand, you know. But it was like shaking hands with a dead person. She looked like that much to a certain extent. She looked like an animated dead person to that extent, but she didn't look real bad, you understand. But there was something very much of a corpse about her. And that's the only way I can describe it. It's kind of hard to describe, but that was what my true feeling was about that. I felt that but when she walked up, that hey, lady, there's something not right about you. There's something wrong, definitely wrong with you. And I could feel that. If you train yourself, you can become more sensitive to picking up on these vibes that you get from these kind of people. Doctor, does your heart start tickling when you sense it? Yeah, it's kind of the hair on the back of the neck kind of thing. And it's very much like being somewhere you feel like somebody's watching you. You know without a doubt somebody's watching you. And what the freaky part is, you can't see who it is or what it is that's watching you. I've experienced that. It's very much like that. You kind of get a weird, off, negative feeling of vibration. It is. And I'm not going to say you vibrate, actually physically vibrate, but you feel like it a little bit. There's like, yeah, I call it a hum. You get the hum, you start getting the hum there. You know something's going on, definitely. Girl, I'm gonna say you felt repelled by her energy, like it could push you out of the room. Well, I felt, yeah, there was nothing good there, It was not good. It was not good. But hindsight makes me shudder. Some close calls I know that I had, Sharon. Yeah, sometimes at the moment, I thought, there was one part of me, and I can remember well thinking this. One part of me thinks, well, she thinks she's like this, or she may be a regular person that's doing this. But the other part of me picked up on the fact she was not a regular person, And when she said I'm a vampire, I'm a real vampire, I believed her because I was picking up on that. But that's why I had to ask her. I said, "Oh, you mean you're in a vampire, gang or tribe or whatever they want to call? They call themselves tribes. Are you in a vampire, association or something like that?" I remember saying something like that, and she said, "No, I'm a real vampire." And boy, when she said that, picking up on her what she felt like, I kind of then began to really believe it. You know, although I was still doubtful about that. That's the investigator in me, okay? Because I walk the fine line between belief and knowing. You got to walk that fine line between believing in something and knowing it for sure. And when the knowing outweighs the believing, then you got it. You know what I'm saying? You call it the ticker, huh? Well, you can call it that, I guess. Yeah, absolutely. It's something, it's a little bit. I got a little bell going off. Kind of gets kind of like a smoke detector going off. Okay, maybe not that loud. Um, like a hot topic down there. Yeah, yeah. I remember a hot topic. I used to hang out at Hot Topic. I had a girlfriend who worked in Hot Topic. She was hot. Yep. But I won't get into that topic tonight. Mine is hum hum. Yeah, it's kind of a hum. But it's not. You can't push it off. You know it's there. And you know what it's doing and why it's doing what it's doing for a reason. I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm not just saying it's just me, but having been around all of this stuff for over 55 plus years now, and that's been a long haul, folks. I have gotten super sensitive to a lot of this stuff that some people don't because I have experienced it firsthand so many times in so many different ways. Um, it's hard to ignore it when it pops up, and it's not a good thing to ignore it, though. Um, Absolutely, I pay very close attention to it because I know some of the ramifications of it are not very good at all. Um, I know when something or someone's not right, and I have to look at the situation or circumstances for what they are. And just like this case I had the other day, when that lady told me what was going on, I knew exactly it. Like it, the alarm bells went off, and I say, I think I know what your problem is. It's voodoo of some sort, and especially knowing they were from. And the second thing she said, oh, yes, they are. By the way, they're from Haiti. I thought, well, what do you? There you go. That was confirmation for I think a lot of what was going on in that situation. Not everybody, of course, that comes from Haiti is voodoo, but that's a good clue right there. You know what I'm saying? But to me, these things are very destructive. They're very evil to us, our own spirits, when they attack us in this way. We gotta put those shields up. We gotta do that, and that's what the one thing I'm gonna be doing with the upcoming seminar that I'm going to be doing in a couple of weeks. Defense Against the Darkness, Part 2. I'm going to tell you more things that you need to do, things to protect yourself, your people, your family, your property, your pets. You need to know more things that you can do against this darkness. But also, I'm going to do something else for you, and I'm not going to get into that now. But this is probably going to be maybe the first time, or very close to one of the very first times this has ever been done on a podcast. Okay, but anyway, we're going to do that. I'm not going to elaborate on it now. I'm going to save it as a surprise for you. Okay, I'm going to have it as a little bit of surprise. Philip Cleveland says red alert going off. Yep. So the sort of the Klingon thing, the clanger thing on Star Trek. Remember that? But YouTube uses certain areas I can't enter at all. Yeah, I have actually been in places. YouTube user where the evil was so thick, so prevalent, so much that like a fog, you could almost reach out and touch it. That's how very virulent it was in certain places, in certain circumstances. I've felt this very rarely on certain people. You get that feeling from them, you know. There again, you pay attention to it. I was in one certain situation where I was actually inside, almost inside a demon circle. Um, it was a place that, of course, the inside of the demon circle is where you stand when you call a demon up because it protects you from the demon. Okay, I was inside of this thing when it occurred to me. No wonder, no reason. The reason why I'm feeling this evil is because I'm standing in the middle of a demon raising circle. Okay, kind of a situation, and I'm going, no wonder I feel this. But that room was freaky. It had blood on the walls. I don't know if it was human blood or not. But it was a dark, it was just like, it was, here's the only way I can describe it. It's like walking out of a very bright room into a dark, semi dark room. You could feel that immediately. It was in a sub basement of a mill. And something very bad had happened in that room. Something very bad had gone wrong because the circle was disturbed. You don't disturb the circle. That's the number one thing you do when you make a protective circle, whether it be assault, blood, whatever the situation. You do not disturb that circle because once you do, then the circle is then invalid. It no longer works. You wouldn't want to step on it or do anything to break that circle. And that's what happened in that room. Yeah, like an electric fence that surrounds the area. Yeah, very much like that. That's a good equation on that. Yeah. Yeah, the vibration hits first. It always does. You feel it, you know it. And once you feel it enough times, you'll know it very well. The more you pick up on it, absolutely. But anyway, be careful. There are vampires out there, and the energy vampires are just as deadly. It's the blood vampires, okay? But you know, like I said, it's all about the blood. It comes down to the blood. It's the stuff the juice in the blood, and I call it the juice. I'm not going to give it the name that will get me banned here, okay? It starts with an A. But the juice is in the blood, okay? And that's what they like. They love that. The loosh. They love to drink it. They love to assimilate it. It makes them more powerful. There are films. I have a film somewhere, a reel, where they talk about drinking the blood of children and how it makes them younger. And these people, whether they know that they are vampires or not, they actually are vampires because they are partaking in the blood of virgins. They are drinking the blood of young people to not only get energy but immortality. Is that not a vampire? Okay, think about it. That's the way the vampires operate. You got real people like that. I'm not gonna get into that now. It's very dark, deep and dark and depressing stuff. But and I'll get banned if we got to be very careful what we say nowadays. But there are some things I can't talk about. Okay, and get away with it. On certain places. But let me say this. What you don't really know, my friends, would blow your mind. You just don't really know what's going on in this world. People like me and other people like Jessica and piercing the veil with my good friend Gerald, other people like we're just giving we're just scraping the very top of the very small top of the iceberg here. Okay, we can't tell you the whole story of what is truly going on in this world, but there are some insidious, dark, and very deadly evil things going on. And you got to be and the reason why I tell you this, I'm not trying to depress you. I'd rather talk about good topics. I'd rather joke I'd rather give jokes and tell things and have some fun stuff going on. That's me, okay? Because I have seen too much darkness. I've experienced too much of the darkness. I want the light. But I'm trying to warn people about this darkness because I don't want you to fall into the darkness. I don't want you to become a victim of the darkness because that's what it wants. It wants to make us all a victim sooner or later. That's the way it operates. And I don't want you to fall into that category. Okay. And that's why we have these kind of shows and we talk about these subjects. Although it's dark and it's depressing, we have to talk about it sometimes. We have to deal with it. But there are some horrible things that are being done out there. Okay. You just don't know. We're talking cannibalism. We're talking. I'm not going to throw the words out, but it is bad stuff. Annie Venom says, I think narcissism is stealing the life energy of those who are trauma bonded to them. Supply is energy. Well, that's the way narcissistic people are almost like vampires, okay? Because they are using you. They are users, okay? You know what is what's that old saying? It's more blessed to give than to receive. They do not believe that. These narcissistic people use you like a tool or a doormat. That's all you are to them, something that can be used for their own selfish gratification. That's all it comes down to. Is that not another definition of a vampire? Think about him. But that's the way it works. Same here. I feel it's my duty to teach protection against permission, privacy. We need to care for each other. Here's another thing we've got to remember, and I will be talking about this on my seminar. Each one of you out there, I don't care who you are, each one of you has the authority to deal with this darkness. Let me repeat that again. You have the authority to deal with this darkness. It is a God-given right. This authority has been given to you. Utilize it. Use it. That's what you got it for. You weren't given it not to be used, okay? You need to use it. You need to take hold of this authority. And these things, the vampires, whatever names you want to give them, the Satanists, the witches, whatever it is, they recognize that authority. They're bound by that authority. You've got to utilize that authority and work it. And that's what I'm going to be talking about on the next seminar. Self-defense against the darkness, part 2. But I really thank all of you being here tonight. This has been a very interesting show, and I want to thank anybody that for the stickers that you've given me, for the support you've given me. Remember, you too can become a shadow hunter if you want to join the membership. If you can't find that join button, send me an email. I will send you the link, and you can do it in a minute. Okay, no problem. Sometimes this is not the join button doesn't show up because most of the time you're not on the desktop thing. It's got to be in the desktop mode for the join button to show up for some weird reason. I don't know. That's YouTube for you. But anyway, I appreciate y'all being here tonight. You got any questions on vampires? Damien says, Dennis, we are very grateful for your time and effort to make us aware. Well, thank you. It's what I do. Okay. But anyway, this has been Vampire Encounters. And if you have an encounter with a vampire, please contact me immediately. Okay. That's number one thing to do. Contact me immediately. Even if you think you saw, I've had a lot of people in report me here lately, and the reports have gone up really, really big time, folks. People are seeing more and more vampires. Okay. They are seeing people they actually look at and say, hey, that's a vampire. I know that without doubt. That's a vampire. This is happening a lot more and more and more as time goes on. And it's going to happen, okay? Because we're seeing some of the true nature of these evil people. Listen to what I'm going to tell you this right quick before I go. One of the number one precepts of dark witchcraft is that you can take upon yourself magical mantles, magical echelons, magical things that you can do. You can become a werewolf. You can become a vampire. You can become a beast. You can become different animals. This is the one precepts of dark witchcraft that works. And these people are exercising this stuff, folks. They're doing this stuff, okay? They're out there walking among you at Walmart. They're out there walking the streets, okay? They're out there. And if you see them, try to train yourself to check them out and know what you're looking at, okay? Because they're out there. And that's the definite one aim of this show has been about tonight. To raise your awareness of what's going on around you. Okay? Thank you, Andy Venom. I appreciate you as well. You can access join button on your mobile. You got to do it. Use the desktop. Yeah, you got to use the desktop. And that's very true to Girl in the Gong. I found that out. I kept wondering out what's going on with this button. And that's what I found out. But anyway, I couldn't find the join button on my iPhone. But if you can't find it and you don't want to deal with it, I can send you the link real quickly in a jiffy. I got the link. Okay, and yeah, you're looking forward to the defense session. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We're going to get deeper into that. And I am going to help seal you against the darkness. Okay, that's all I'm going to tell you tonight. I'm going to help seal you, shield you against the darkness. Okay. And that's what we're going to be talking about. I think it's in a couple of weeks here. So, okay. And I hope you all have a fantastic weekend ahead and an even better week next week. And next time I see you, nothing happens, we'll be on my good friend Gerald on the road less traveled. We got some interesting stuff to talk about then. And so stay careful out there. Stay aware. Be careful. Keep your head on the swivel. Understand what's going on around you. Everything may not appear to be what it seems to be. Okay, so be very careful out there. But I appreciate you all. I appreciate your support, whether it's monetary or just showing up to be here on the chat tonight. Whatever it is, situation is, believe me, I truly appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Your support. We have made it over 800 subscribers. We're pushing on to 9, okay? And I really appreciate all the fantastic work and support you have given me. And the time and attention is valuable to me as well. And I want you to know I really appreciate that. And you've always got me here, as long as possible, hopefully. But you always got me here for questions, help, advice, or you just want to tell me your story, and I'm going to be sharing some more of your stories. I got some great stories you've sent me. Keep sending those stories. Keep sharing them with me. We've got more to talk about and do in the days ahead. Okay? I appreciate you all being here tonight. It's been a fantastic show. And I hope you'll understand a little bit more about the mystery of the undead, uncovering the undead vampire encounters tonight on Paranormal Point of View. So thank you all very much, and remember, until we get together again, nos aventus quartus, we adventure forth. And I want to say one more thing to you. I will not let you go into the unknown alone. Vaya con Dios.